Dan Harmon created Rick and Morty. You may or may not know that he also created the plot embryo, hallowed be the universal pattern linked in our descriptions and our hearts, which is the story creation tool that he and his writers use to craft every single episode. If you just watch my videos every once in a while and you haven't been to my website or you don't really know me off of YouTube, you might not know that making videos about the plot embryo for fun isn't all I do. Teaching the plot embryo and helping writers get amazing results with it is actually my full-time day job. The plot embryo is a crazy powerful storytelling tool, but it can be a little tricky to get the hang of in the beginning. So let's break down an episode of Rick and Morty so you can see how the plot embryo works in action. And because I want those sweet, sweet clicks, we're going to do the episode where Rick gets himself into a little bit of a pickle. And spoiler warning, I'm about to spoil the shit out of this entire episode because that's the whole point of this video. So consider yourself warned, dum-dums. For the comfort zone of this plot embryo, I had life as part of a family. For the conflict zone, I had the world is dangerous for a pickle. For Rick's before state, I had dishonesty and the belief that therapy is for dweebs. For Rick's after state, I had honesty and the realization that I am a dweeb. At plot point 1, we have the backstory that Rick and Beth are both dysfunctional, closed off and resistant to change. Rick turns himself into a pickle ostensibly to avoid therapy, but lies about it to the rest of the family.
Jeez. Rick, did you do this on purpose to get out of family counseling?
Morty!
It's okay, Beth. I understand Morty's suspicion. I've misled him before. Morty, I assure you, I would never find a way to get out of family therapy. I hope my lack of fingers doesn't prevent the perception of my air quotes.
Also, did you guys get the metaphor about the idea of being pickled and Rick's drinking problem? Because I definitely did not. So if you just got that, write pickled in the comments below. Plot point 2, Beth takes the syringe of antidote with her to therapy, leaving him as a helpless pickle. He needs to get it back to return himself to human form. This is his motive goal for the episode. Get the antidote.
You don't want to get pierced by a needle full of liquid unrelated to your situation. How's that going to help?
I'm a pickle! I'm a pickle! Whoa! Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa! Oh, crap, that sun is bright.
At plot point 3, he's washed into the sewer and must survive very real dangers as an apparently helpless pickle. At plot point 4, Rick makes himself a body, fights off rats and other dangers of the sewer. He emerges eventually into a Russian embassy and is attacked by agents. He beats them and escapes with Jaguar. And at plot point 5, he gets to the therapy session to retrieve the antidote and is forced to admit that he lied, that he did turn himself into a pickle to avoid therapy, to get the antidote before his wounds kill him.
I've sustained a lot of damage. I'm pretty close to death, which the serum will prevent.
By changing you from a pickle to a human.
Yes.
Rick, why did you lie to your daughter?
At plot point 6, he pays the price for that. He endures Dr. Wong's perfect analysis of him, meeting it with a cynical glare. The therapy session ends.
And I think it's because the only truly unapproachable concept for you is that it's your mind within your control. You are the master of your universe, and yet you are dripping with rat blood and feces, your enormous mind literally vegetating by your own hand.
At plot point 7, we have them driving home in the car. And finally, at plot point 8, Rick apologises for lying. It's not enough, but it's something.
Sorry I lied to get out of the thing. I shouldn't lie to you.
Rick and Beth seem to refuse to accept Dr. Wong's insights, but Summer and Morty see their family's problems a lot more clearly now.
I liked her.
So, what are you thinking, like Smokey's Tavern? Maybe Shoney's?
Yeah, either one.
Let's talk about Rick's arc in Pickle Rick. So Dan Harmon uses this one 8-part structure for all of his stories and episodes, whereas I personally use both the 8-part structure, which I call the heroic plot embryo, because it tends to get a happy or satisfying ending, and I also use a 6-part version called the tragic plot embryo, because not all stories get that triumphant ending. Rick's plot embryo is heroic in structure. He succeeds at what he sets out to do, but he's definitely not a traditional hero. Pickle Rick is a great example of an anti-hero's heroic plot embryo. He essentially brings all of the conflict on himself, and his apology at the end is really just a tiny concession. It seems for the most part he hasn't taken Dr. Wong's analysis very seriously. He certainly hasn't undergone a huge transformation. But at the beginning of the episode, he absolutely refused to be honest, and he would never have apologised for that. So it still hits our plot point 8. And that is how Pickle Rick's plot embryo works. Now, of course, I don't have access to the original plot embryo used to create this episode, so consider this my best interpretation, kind of reverse engineered from the finished episode. Tell me in the comments what episode you would like to see me break down next. As someone who specialises in helping people with their story structure and crafting plots, I often hear writers worry that using a structure like the plot embryo will make their stories formulaic, it will tie their hands behind their back, it will stop them from being as creative, and essentially result in these kind of lackluster formulaic stories. And I think the perfect example of why that's not true is the fact that every single episode of Rick and Morty is created using the plot embryo structure. And I would defy anyone to watch a season of Rick and Morty and tell me that it's formulaic or derivative or predictable or uncreative. If you're a writer struggling with crafting your stories, if you find that they never turn out how you had imagined or hoped, I created the Story Magic Academy for you. In it, I share my complete system from generating that first seed of a story idea all the way to turning that into a complete plot embryo, ready to be written. It's where I've put all my best secrets and tips for getting the most out of the plot embryo framework and making the story creation process clear, practical, and gratifying. So here's what to do next. If you're watching this video pretty soon after I released it, the enrollment for the Story Magic Academy is open now for a limited time. If you're watching this sometime in the future, the Academy might already be in session, but don't worry, you can also follow that link and join the waiting list, and you'll be notified the next time enrollment is open. Okay, I'm done hawking my wares now. Don't forget to signal to our overlords that this content is above average. Perform the token gesture, which indicates that you would like to see more videos from me, and grant me access to your sacred and coveted notification center. Boom!
Right.
Them from being, I just spat everywhere. But at the beginning, enroll. Is that in the shop? The gingerbread man. Terrible, yes, but great. It's just a headless gingerbread man. Sure. I don't know why I tried to. Thanks, so fun. Which a Fluberdord or the Florgazorp gets himself into a pickle.
You suck and you should feel bad.
Harsh. He gets it. He literally does get himself into a pickle. See,